Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's live. It is a very exciting live stream today because we are going to show you Guild Crop Wars, which is coming out very, very soon. So excited to show you all that. Let me turn my phone on silent like the professional I am. All right. Okay. If you have any questions, throw them in the YouTube live chat. Keep it farmer friendly, of course. You can also comment on the live chat on Twitter, not the comment section, live chat, and we can pull up those questions as well. So we're going to start off today. We're going to talk about a bunch of things, just about the game, where we're at, some goals, whatever. Luke is going to run us through some things, and then we're going to show you Guild Crop Wars. I am so excited. So let's bring up Luke.
Hey guys, exciting AMA today because we have some new stuff to show you guys, and this is actually releasing. Can we say the date? Am I allowed to say this?
I have told the content creators, so
okay, sweet. We'll say it in like a minute or two then. Sweet.
So
yeah.
Building
in public and building a startup is kind of funny because, startups are hard and there's a lot of stuff that goes differently than what you would expect. And, things change quite often. Things don't always go the way that we expect. And there's always drama behind the scenes whenever you're building a company like this, and things pivot and, things change quite often. So where we're at right now is there's a couple of things we've been focusing on. There's some work that's been going on behind the scenes that we haven't even really talked about yet. Like for example, there's a couple of things we'll start to announce in the next month. Like August is going to be a pretty fun month for us when it comes to, other things we've been building kind of on the side. So for example, we're going to be launching like another ecosystem for a little bit. Not another ecosystem. We'll kind of talk to you guys about what we're doing there. It's like a pretty cool plan. I feel like we're going to start to maybe go into more depth on that next week. We have a couple of deals that I've been working on behind the scenes. And then there's also some like big game changes that we'll be making as well. One thing I want to update you guys on is, we take user feedback really seriously. And there's like a few things we've been seeing when it comes to like the state of the game where we're at right now that we're not very happy with either. One of the things we've been working on a lot is the game balance. And we talked about it a little bit over the last couple of AMAs. We talked about like our future direction, the things that we've been thinking about, how we want to change the Taskboard, new systems we want to start to add. And where we're at now is we think that the Chapter 2 game balance is pretty broken. And our first approach to this was we're going to basically do like a bunch of tweaks. We like to release things early. We like to release things often. And we like to fix them in production live with all of you guys as we start to gather your feedback. One interesting video that we saw the other day, I was like debating if I want to show and share this video or not, but I think it brought in a lot of good points. Was made by a user called Danny. They kind of go into the state of pixels. They kind of give their own opinion on where they think game balance is at, like everything that's broken. And all I want to say is like we see this stuff. We're looking at this all the time. I actually really appreciate content creators like this that kind of go in and dive into what's working inside of pixels, what's not. And yeah, I think we all are kind of on the same page that the state of chapter 2 right now, there's some things that went well with it, and there's some key areas where we, kind of have gone in the right direction, and then there's other areas where we need a lot of improvement. So we've been talking about game balance updates and changes there quite often. I think how our approach is shifting now is instead of small tweaks, what we're starting to realize is we need a total rewrite of a lot of the game balance. So that's what the team has been starting to work on. This is going to take a couple of weeks to get done. And we can kind of dive into the different things we're working on there. So if we dive into the state of game balance and all this kind of stuff right now, I would say where we're at is, a lot of the intentions behind chapter 2 maybe have not worked in the same way that we would want it to. And we have basically brought in like a whole new team and a whole new set of personnel to address some of the chapter 2 game balance changes. So we have some people working on that now. What you can start to expect is like pretty big systemic changes in the way that we approach tier 3 and tier 4 balancing, energy, taskboard, coins, all of this kind of stuff. What we can say is like we hear and see the feedback, and this is actually a super high priority inside of the game mechanics. It's going to take us a little bit of time because it's going to be a little bit bigger of an update than we were initially expecting. It's not small tweaks. There's like really big changes that need to get made here. So this also affects things like coins. This affects things like the energy market. And this affects basically every single part of pixels that you're working on. So I want to call that out. I want to say, hey, there's things in chapter 2 that are not working right. We have new personnel here. We have new team members completely working on this. And we're going to kind of go in a different direction with some of the game balance side of things here. So we can kind of dive more into this maybe in the next AMA, along with some of the announcements that we're doing with maybe other games that we're working on and other parts of the ecosystem that will be expanding. And then, yeah, I think in August, we'll also have like a couple of cool announcements too with some other ecosystem expansion stuff. So then we can kind of also go into the roadmap too in the short term of what we're working on. So we brought on new people onto the team in July. And what we're starting to work on now is a long-term roadmap for how we make Pixels a sustainable ecosystem, a great game, make it more fun. And we want to start to kind of plug in all the holes that we have right now. So one of the things that we've been moving towards is a new live ops strategy. If you've ever played a game like Fortnite or Call of Duty, like any popular game that's out now, live ops is actually an extremely important part of basically every free to play mobile game and any MMO as well too. And we're finally starting to release the first pieces of this new strategy here. So one of the things we promised after chapter 2 was Carnival. We actually ended up going in a little bit different of a direction for live ops here, and we have something new to show you guys. So this is actually releasing on Friday at 9 a.m. PST. It's a whole new type of contest, and it's the first implementation of this new live ops strategy that we're introducing inside of Pixels. And it's something that we want to start to run quite frequently. So if you guys have been following Pixels for a long time, you'll know that we've done different live events inside of the game here and there. Like we did Carnival when we went to Ronin. We did a live ops event called Other Spec. Now we know what we're doing a little bit more here because we brought on new talent onto the team that's kind of helping set up great structure around this. And this is what we're about to release, Guild Crop Wars. Again, it's going to be releasing on Friday at 9 a.m. PST, and it's going to run all weekend. We're super excited about this. And Heidi, do you want to kind of dive into what this is? I can kind of give you guys a high-level overview of what we're trying to do here. So Guild Crop Wars, it's going to be our first live op event. And essentially what it is it's going to be a new competition available only to guild members. Guild members are going to have to compete inside of this contest over the weekend. And there's going to be a pretty big prize pool for this guild contest reward. I think we're going to give out about 500,000 pixel just in this contest alone. And this is kind of going to be a higher level strategy that we're going to start implementing, where we're going to start to shift the rewards purely from the task board to also other areas inside of the game. One of the big issues inside of the game right now is the task board is a good system, but alone it's not enough for token distribution. So, we have a couple different strategies that we're about to implement. This is the first piece. We're also going to start to shift rewards to things like the reward dashboard and some other areas too. But we really, really like the idea of basically moving some of the rewards to different types of events. And we'll kind of explain to you guys the structure around all of this. I know there's some concerns around things like whoever has the biggest guild will win. That's not true. We have some stuff here for this. The yeah, there's some fun stuff here, but I think maybe what we want to start with is just kind of explain to you guys what to expect, what this event is. We'll go into the rewards. It's super fun. We started playtesting with farmhands um, a couple of days ago. The response from it's been pretty positive, and yeah, we'll dive into that kind of stuff. So yeah, want to show what this is, Heidi?
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so as you might have seen, I was in HQ, entered the basement of HQ through the elevator, which brought me to the very first cave system that we can access in Pixels. And so here you can see the chute. It has a big long name. It's like Trans Mushroom. Hold on, he says it right in here. Trans Mush Station. Shoot. I'm going to call it the shoot. And basically, your goal is to, with your guild, get as many mushrooms as you can put in the chute before the end of the event. The event is going to last 3 days. So you have 3 full 72 hours to harvest as many mushrooms as you can, and they must be put in the chute before the end of the competition. Now, there's a couple leaderboards. The obvious leaderboard is the guild leaderboard. So, which guild wins? There's going to be 3 brackets to break up the size of the guilds. So, depending on the size of your guild, will depend on the bracket that you're in, and each bracket gets rewarded slightly differently, just due to size. But yeah, there's some finer details we can get into with that later, but that's kind of the rough overview. So a bunch of the farmhands are still in here, which is kind of funny. So they can kind of act as our examples of what it's going to look like. I think Luke and I are also on different guilds. Yeah, he's on crop crushers, and I'm on. I can literally never say it, but it's like um, how do I say it? Anyways, these are just internal testing teams. So you can come in here. I can talk to all of our NPCs and they'll give you a better understanding of things. But first, I'm going to buy some shrooms. I think I'm really zoomed in here because I was making content. So ignore that, but I'm going to buy some shrooms. Ooh, should I buy some fancy ones? How many pixel do I have? 88. Okay, not a lot. I'll buy a couple. And then over here we have guano, and guano is kind of basically like fertilizer. I'm gonna buy some super guano. And some of these, I will also say, like Luke has said this already, but some of these values are still in the testing phase. They're going to be tweaked before we launch, so don't take them to heart right now. Like that art is going to change. And then we have goo. Ooh, I'm going to buy some super goo. And I'm okay. Now let's get going. So this is not, I feel like I've got a decent amount of things. So there's a bunch of different arenas. I'm just going to go to arena 1 because like I said, this is a testing server and this is the one that is properly set up. So I'm going to go in here. And if any team members or farmhands wants to come join me, feel free. So I've got my spores. Where's my pickaxe? So you're going to have to use your pickaxe to get through some of these stones in game, which obviously will require some energy so we can see some people have planted. So crop crushers. Okay, so this is not my guild. This is the other guild. So I am going to use some evil goo to destroy Nellie's guild. Nellie's no, see, and they're combating with watering while I'm doing it so that they don't want their crops to die. But here's that element of sabotage. So it becomes really funny.
Yeah,
Um
so what we're introducing here is it's like a small, like weekend-long competition. There's elements of sabotage here. It's competition too. So basically, guilds are going to compete in order to collect the most of this limited time crop. Whoever turns it in the most, there's going to be leaderboards for the guilds. And what's cool about this is this introduces like a few new game mechanics that we haven't had before. Super goo or any of the goo is one of these new ones where you can actually sabotage and kill other guilds' crops with the goo. It's pretty fun.
okay. So they are on my
Yay.
but you can see the other one coming in.
Yeah, so those
So,
are those are my crops, excuse you.
okay. So, I would ask that no one destroys the crops that I'm about to plant, just so we can actually properly show um, what is going to take place here. So, circulating here, I've got a bunch of different spores. So let's plant them. And then I have some super guano. So let's use that and it'll speed up the time of. Oh, I forgot to water them though. Yeah, so it's gonna be really fun. There's gonna be tons of different arenas. See, so because I used Super Guano, it sped it up to I think like 30 seconds, which is great because it can be really fast and I can guard it well against anyone trying to use goo um, with just more water. So you can always, so if someone uses goo, even if they use super goo, you have like a short amount of time to combat it with watering again. So perfect. Okay, go away. I said not to. Okay, well, there you go. Zombina killed all my plants. And or maybe it was Luke, I don't know. Anyways, there you go. So I've got one one mushroom here. Oops, it was player W3. There you go. So let's go back up. I've got my mushroom harvested. Oh, these grow back so quickly. Okay, thank you. Amazing. There's some dead ones here. So let's go back up to the chute so I can submit my singular mushroom. So this is like a really, really rough overview of how it's going to work. Obviously, it's going to be very different because there's going to be a lot more players in the game. There's going to be a lot more people participating and planting and watering and gooing and doing all the things. So here we go. Yes, Sophia's on the tele, as she would say. There you go. So I submitted my one. So I did 45 points. So each mushroom that you submit has a different amount of points associated to it. So I was doing the tier 3 mushroom, which has 5 points associated with it, which makes sense because I was just at 45 points. Now I'm at 50. And then there's a couple other points associated. Let me see here. Actually, I have the numbers. It was blue tier 1 is 1 point, purple is 3, and green is 5. So that's why I just upped to 5. There's also going to be a new energy drink that you can drink throughout because obviously you saw those rocks come back real fast. You're going to have to be hacking them down occasionally as you go. And yeah, so that's like a very, very quick rundown overview of the game. So if you have any questions, throw them in the chat and we'll haven't been watching them, but I will.
Yeah, I've been watching. Yeah, no.
Turn the
Now
music on.
I finally harvested some. I'm gonna go and submit mine really quickly.
Okay.
But yeah, basically it's gonna be a limited time contest, and this is a part of our higher level strategy. So this contest is oriented around guilds, right? So we're gonna start to do a lot more events like this. Like the idea is we kind of want to do an event like this once we get it going almost every weekend. So we can start to rerun events like this, right? If you guys like this and we get good feedback from it, we can run this like maybe once a month. We're going to start to get some other different types of events that aren't just oriented around guilds, but also different types of players too. This is kind of a way for you guys to get earnings inside of the game in a different way than just the task board, right? And then also kind of the end goal from this too is we're experimenting with different ways to use the pixel token inside of the game too. I would say if you're thinking about it from like the business economics perspective for pixels, what we want is we want the top guilds to earn a lot. We want some guilds to, maybe not come out positive EV, right? So this is going to be some of the experimentation here. You're gonna have to strategize if it's worth, using Pixel to get ahead in some areas, or if it's not worth it for you. If you think you have a good shot at the task board or the guild leaderboard, all this kind of stuff too. So one concern that we wanted to kind of like alleviate here is this is not just for big guilds. What we're actually going to do is we're going to break down guilds into 3 different tiers. So there's going to be 3 different brackets. So there's going to be prizes for small guilds, for medium guilds, and for large guilds. And these guilds are going to be competing on size. So I will say, if you have a big guild that's not so active, I'm sorry, that's kind of a downside of being in a part of a big guild that's not active, right? If you're a big guild, you're going to be entered into the big guild bracket. If you're a medium guild, you're going to be entered into the medium guild bracket. If you're a small guild, you're going to be entered into the small guild bracket, regardless of how many active players you have inside of that guild. So that's why it's actually kind of important now to start to join a guild that actually has active players inside of it, right? Do you know? I think we have the.
So to participate in the event, you can't just be a shard holder. You have to be pledged and have a role beyond supporter, which means that the guild leaders or owners will have to assign you a role. It can be member, supporter, sorry, not supporter, member, worker, admin, or obviously the owner. So you have to be an active member of the guild. Um, and so, yes, someone said, do only pledgers count for the guild size? So that's exactly what I just said. Pledged and assigned a role.
Yep. And here, maybe I think I'm comfortable sharing the sheet. This isn't final, but I can kind of show you guys what we're thinking about with reward distribution with guilds. One second. Let me need to hide this column.
Um, take a just actually take a look at the other thing I sent you, just in case things have changed in the conversation we had earlier.
Okay, one second.
I know. But there's going to be two different ways to get rewards. So there's going to be the obvious one, which we just mentioned. Guild that has the most mushrooms entered into the chute by the end within your bracket, they will be rewarded. And then we are going to have special milestone rewards also. So those are for individuals primarily. There might be a couple guild ones. We haven't decided on that part yet, but individuals. So like the most planted or something like that. Not confirmed quite yet, but obviously we'll explain that on launch. So the total reward pool, I think I'm comfortable saying, is 85,000 US in the pixel token, which is amazing. So
Yeah,
it'll be
about
divided up
500,000 pixel for this event, and it's just a 3 to 4 day event, right? I think we're gonna
3-day
start
event.
3-day event. So it's just a 3-day event, right? And this is something that if it goes really well, we're going to start to do this more often. And we're also going to do this in different formats too, remember? So, if it is something that's quite popular, one, we're going to start to do it not just for guilds. Like this is one fun contest to do, but we can also do it for different types of users than just guild users. And we can also start to maybe increase prize pool each time as well. So this is kind of an experiment, but we're pretty optimistic about it.
Yeah. So when does this event start? It starts on Friday. I will at 9 a.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. UTC, and I believe that is midnight in the Philippines. So I will post a whole thing about this coming soon, probably today, tomorrow, in preparation. But yeah, check all of our announcements and in-game calendar, whatnot, in the next like by end of day, I'll have it all updated. So very exciting.
Yep. And note that as we do the leaderboards too, so essentially with each bracket of guilds, can we talk about the guild bracket size? Um,
Yeah. So right now the brackets are, I think it's 1 to 30, 30 to 69, and 70 and above. If we see a rush happen after this AMA, we'll see about adjusting it. But so far, those are the three brackets. And I will say that if you throughout the event move up into a bracket and then move down again, you will stay in that higher bracket. So be careful with that. That's just for mitigation of people doing things they shouldn't do.
Yep. So at each bracket too, there's going to be different levels of rewards for what place your guild comes into. So it's not all or nothing for one guild. Basically,
No.
the number one guild in the highest tier is going to get the most amount of pixel rewarded. I think right now we have it set at about like a $10,000 USD reward for the number one guild at the highest bracket. So 70 plus members who wins there. And then how we're going to do the guild reward distribution is we're going to give it directly to the guild. So it's up to the guild to decide how they want to distribute it amongst the members. Now, what we will do for the guilds is we'll give you guys some of the data if you want to kind of distribute it in a smart way. We'll kind of let you guys see what your members did inside of the guild, but it's gonna be up to the guild to distribute it. Maybe the guild decides to give it evenly to all of its users. Maybe it decides to give it based on like certain milestones that they hit. We like the idea of having guilds just figure it out and have it be up to them, right?
So I only have 20 members in my guild. Can I join the 30 members bracket? No, you cannot. And also, all 20 of your members of your guild must be pledged and have a assigned role. Now, I wouldn't worry too much about changing your bracket size. Each bracket, so the bigger brackets do get a slightly bigger amount of pixel because they are bigger guilds, but it's not far off. So I wouldn't like worry about rushing to create a massive guild. Is what I would say.
Yeah. And then note, we've also set aside some of the prize pool for individual rewards also.
Yeah.
or what we call them milestone based rewards. So there's other tiny little leaderboards as well. If you're just a user who you don't have faith in your guild, but you want to go for like an individual, or yeah, you just want to kind of shoot for it anyways, right?
There's gonna be like a single person going hard. Actually, Lemonheads is like not ready and organized for this, so maybe I should just go do that myself on behalf of my own guild. Anyways, all right. Okay, let me look. I know we're getting some questions. So, event starts August 2nd. It begins on August 2nd at 9 a.m. Pacific time, which is 4 p.m. UTC. All of this will be posted in our Discord and in our in-game calendar very shortly. Um, what about non-VIP without a guild? So this is a guild-focused event. You must be part of a guild to participate. VIP doesn't really impact it beyond your ability to get a lot more energy. So that might be a little bit of a bonus. Okay, let's see here.
Is there a
Oh,
mechanic?
sorry.
Oh,
I just
go ahead.
click on it again.
No, that is this a new one?
Yeah, so just I was kind of just going off of can I participate if I'm not in a guild? So once again, no, but you can go and join a guild right now.
Yep. And then also note that like this is the first part of our like new live ops strategy here. So we're going to be doing more events like this. Like for example, we were going to be doing Carnival at first, but this is actually a lot more thought out than Carnival is what I'll say. The end goal here is like this is one, introducing new ways to earn Pixel and also new ways to use Pixel too. So we have a couple of like things we're going to be tracking and experimenting with here inside of the game as we go live with this. I would say like an amazing goal if we hit it is like, okay, so there ends up being more pixels spent inside of this event than we give out in prize pools, then we can really increase the next prize pool, right? Like that's actually an amazing milestone if we hit that. And I'm just trying to be transparent with that. But then there's also ways that we can use some of these live op events just for distribution too. The reason why Carnival was maybe one that we wanted to hold off on first was because we wanted ways to kind of integrate the pixel token into the game loop also as an optional thing. And Carnival made it a little bit more difficult. So that actually is something I just brought up with the team today, where it's like, okay, if you want to start to get like 4 to like 6 of these events rotating, that's kind of the idea, getting like a bunch of different mini games that we do every single weekend or like every single week like this, then Carnival is actually maybe an interesting one that we can start to bring into the rotation because we have a lot of stuff there and ready. And then there's still tickets that we need to burn. I know you guys have been like basically holding on to these tickets, waiting to use them. So Carnival is not dead. It's something that we might actually just bring into this rotation. We want to run this one first as a better experiment and like a more thought out experiment, essentially. And then, yeah, we have a few other things we can maybe do quickly after that also. But this is exciting because this is some better fundamentals when it comes to like long-term strategy here than we've had in the past.
Okay, good question here. So, can I plant shrooms without a guild and then join one later? So, you can buy the spores and the other things, but you will not be able to plant the shrooms. And if you're not pledged and have a membership of a guild, and they're not tradable either. So, the answer is no, you can't plant them. Okay, let's see if there's any other question in here relating to that's risky to let a guild leader distribute the rewards. I'm sure a lot of players will get burnt. So this comes down to choosing the guild that's right for you and the one that you trust. We talked a lot, posted a lot about this when we launched guilds. And it comes down to like what kind of guild do you want to be a part of? Like each one will have their own governing system, their own leadership, their own I don't know, structures. Maybe they have a Discord, maybe they don't. There's so many different reasons to be in a part of a guild. And it's just kind of up to you to figure out like what kind of one you want to be a part of. And a lot of that does come down to like the trust. So I would actually like if I were a part of a bigger guild or any guild right now, I am, but it's not very functional. But if I was part of a functional guild right now, I would probably go to the leaders and be like, how do you plan to distribute the wards if we win? Right? Go ask them that question.
Can fellow guildmates defend the crops by watering, or only ones who can plant do that? So yes, you can actually help your guild. Like there is cooperation here. So if you are seeing like your guild member like not taking care of their crops, you can go and water them. You can also, do we keep it? You can also harvest them too.
I think you can also harvest them, but then there's this weird back and forth of like for the better of the guild or for the milestone.
Yeah, there's like a
So,
little bit of a mismatched incentive there, but it's gonna be interesting to see how that plays. So there might be
yeah.
things about this event that you guys like and you don't like. Let us know when we run it, and we'll change some things too. Like this is our first go at it, and we're gonna do more of these things too that aren't exactly like this that are gonna be different too. But it's fun because this is some of the first time that we have like legitimate competition inside of Pixels besides the play to airdrop, and I think this is better too. Um,
My guild leader hates me. Okay, I don't know why. That's unfortunate, and I would recommend finding another guild.
yeah.
Uh, interesting.
So, yeah, I would say this is also like this is one of the pieces that we were thinking about too, where it's like, we probably could do automated distribution if we want. Maybe this is something that we start to like get feedback from you guys on quickly because we can change this if we need to before the reward distribution happens. The only thing is like, yeah, it's we'd have to figure out the best way to do it on our end, and we'd have to make that call, right? Like some guilds actually might want to do it in different ways, right? Like some guilds might want to reward active players. Some guilds might want to do flat distribution. You share everything. Some guilds might want to weight it. So we kind of like to give them the freedom to decide what they do with the rewards.
Okay, so this is an interesting one. The ones that have more money and more tokens will win. Not necessarily, because it's not as simple as buy the thing, win the thing. There's a lot of gameplay and strategy and time, if I'm being honest, required to, harvest, plant, sabotage, water, keep track of, make sure that your crops aren't being sabotaged, right? So there's like a lot that goes into the gameplay itself. It's not as simple as like I buy things, I submit, and I win. Also, there's these different bracketing systems. So, this isn't necessarily true 100% of the time, but bigger guilds might have a little bit more capital to spend, right? And so there's also why we wanted to break up this bracketing system. And then also because more people in a guild gives them more manpower simply to perform all these activities. So it's a lot more nuanced than this.
Yeah. Okay. Also, I see this comment. Guys, after you finish answering the questions, can you talk about the coin update? We're literally asking since the AMA started. Yeah, we'll get into that. We'll get
We'll
into
get
all the coin stuff and what we're doing there. That's actually why I prefaced the AMA with basically saying, hey, there's actually bigger changes that we need to make when it comes to game balance. And these things are all kind of intertwined. Truthfully, like, again, we thought initially with coin stuff, it was going to be a simple fix where it's like, okay, we just introduced coins here, but there's actually a lot of other things involved here, and it's kind of this big web of systems. So I'll dig into that. Like, there's a couple things that we're thinking about with like coin inflation, with like coin pinch in certain areas, with coin caps, like all of this kind of stuff. So I'll dig into some of this stuff, but we're going to talk about guilds for like another 5 or 10 minutes, and then we'll go into the rest of the questions around this kind of stuff because I know this is very asked about, and this is also like it's not something we're trying to ignore. This is one of the things that we're doing here when it comes to building out better strategy. And then there's also parts of the base game that we need to fix and address also.
So many people are like, I've pulled up the few that I've seen, but they're like, join my guild, or I'm making this new one, or come join this here. Um,
Do
so
guilds need to pay to participate in this event, like a registration fee? No, any guild can join this event. No
yeah,
registration fee.
can bots dominate here?
Um, what I'll say is like we think about this a lot when we think about game design. This is one partly how a lot of chapter 2 is supposed to work with like very limited space and competition, and it's going to be very hard for a bot to compete in the ways that the game is designed now. Also, it's gated behind the guild system, and then also if there is a guild that's cheating, it's much more easy for us to identify that guild, right? So if we catch a guild cheating with bots, we're not going to include them in the prize pool, is what I can very confidently say.
Yeah, they'll be disqualified extremely, extremely quickly. And yeah, to have a lot of bots, right, for a guild would be extremely costly as things aren't tradable. So you really have to be part of the guild. So there's a Luke already covered it, but yeah, there's a
Yeah.
lot there.
So the one reward gets rewarded to the winning guild only? No. So there's still tiers of prizes. So how we set it up right now is like the first guild in like bracket 3, which is 70 members plus, gets, I think we have it as like over 50,000 pixel right now. Second place will get something like 26,000 pixel. The third place will get like 16,000. So there's
So I have the
ranking.
percentages. Do you want to share that, or is that not confirmed yet?
I mean, I think it's like basically confirmed. There might be small tweaks, but this is
Okay,
generally
so the
right.
percentages thus far is the first bracket, which is 1 to 30 as of right now, will receive 20% of the pool. 31 to 69 will receive 35% of the pool, and bracket 3, which is 70 plus, will receive 45% of the pool. So like I said earlier, they're different, but they're not like 0 and 100. So if you're a small guild, it might be beneficial to stay in that bracket, right? Like it's gonna be broken up. It'll be really interesting to see how it plays out.
Can mushrooms be implemented later as part of the game, not only event use? No, I will say that these are just going to be the event. Like I can pretty confidently say that right now.
Yeah.
So just for this particular event, and do not hoard these mushrooms with the expectation of them being used in another event. Like we'll probably reset or like change the types of mushrooms used each time as well. Say, because we want this to be fresh and like a fair competition every time. And what we're not trying to do is introduce another inflationary resource into the game right now. So this is just for the event. Know that. Don't save a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, those collectors out there, there's no point. There's no point.
I mean, maybe like save one for a collection, right? Like
It's
I love
gonna
that.
happen. It's gonna happen. I know those collectors out there. Okay, wait. I keep seeing this question again. So it's pledgers that also have an assigned role. So pledgers that are still supporters cannot participate. They have to have a role. And then wait, where did it go? I just saw a really good question. Oh yeah. Is there a mechanic that stops guilds from building alliances? No. No, there's not.
No,
So
that is
that's
interesting.
interesting.
Yeah, I mean, if that meta gameplay forms, then it is what it is.
It'll happen, and then you like other people can form alliances and then go into that map and just like you know there's a lot of opportunities there for guys. This is the first time we've kind of implemented an aspect of we'd be calling it sabotage, but it's kind of like PvP. It's GVG if you want to go guild versus guild, but it has that like that it's not straight up battle with swords, but it is battle component kind of vibe to it. So it'll be interesting to see how it's received because we haven't done something like this before, but you guys have been begging for it.
Yeah, so just to reiterate, so no, there will be multiple guilds receiving rewards in each bracket. I think we are doing if you participate, you might get some reward. We're not going to guarantee it, but participation will probably lead to some reward with each guild. There are, well, definitely not at the like 1 to 30. So I think in the tier 1 guild ranking, we have 50 rewards going out to people, but they get smaller and smaller, right?
Okay. How do we know our guild bracket? Go count. But that's a good question. If like while you're in the game, how do you know? I'm not sure if we'll implement anything like that, but I will take that to the design team and see if there's something we can do.
Yeah. So yeah, also for the tiers of guilds too, like we're going to be taking snapshots of like max guild size during the competition. So if you try to basically increase your guild size and then like decrease it during the competition or at the very end, we're going to see that.
You'll stay in the highest bracket.
Yeah, no. So what about low budget coin players who might join small guilds to play? That's great. Yeah, we want you guys to participate. We want you to join the guild system if it's interesting to you. Join a small guild because the small guilds are pretty cheap to earn or to join. Like you should be able to join it with some of the earnings that you make inside of the game.
Okay, so can a guild that has 200 members be divided to dominate brackets? They would have to create new guilds, if that makes sense. Like they can't just be divided up. They'd have to like physically like in the dashboard have a whole separate guild.
Does a prize pool worth 85,000 pixel or $85,000 a pixel? So it's about 500,000 pixel, a bit over that. So about $85,000 of prizes in USD.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. Okay. Kind of sabotagey. Exactly. It's gonna be fun.
Okay, sweet. And then yeah. Okay, so I think that that's a lot on this stuff. So we had a lot
Yeah.
of questions about other game balance stuff, and I think it's important to spend some time going over that too, because yeah, this is like the other side of things that we're focused on. So there's a few things here at Pixels that we're working on now. One, it's like a total revamp of the game balance. Right now, the game balance is pretty broken, but instead of making quick decisions that aren't very well thought out, we're actually trying a different approach now where we have people who are coming in with a lot of game experience, with game economy experience, and they built a ton of free to play games before. And we're actually getting hopefully a bit smarter about this. Now, again, I want to, it's tricky to talk about this stuff sometimes. What I want to say is like we have totally different people working on this now than when we did in chapter two. At the release of chapter two too. So we're going to go with a whole different strategy when it comes to balance, and it's going to be reworking a lot of the stuff. So all this requires a bit of systemic change here, and our team is finally feeling comfortable to make these changes. That's partly why this has taken a little bit longer than we had thought. Like if I'm being honest, we came in chapter two. The intention was do live ops updates, like make some tweaks. What we're seeing is like, okay, stuff is a little bit more broken than we had initially intended for it to be, and it can't be fixed by tweaks. It has to be like big changes to the game balance. So that's what we're working on now. And a lot of people keep asking about coin stuff. So pixel to coin adjustment first to add in more burning mechanism. So we are going to start to introduce like pixel to coins, but there's a few other things we actually need to fix first to make this happen. This is one of the examples that I can like concretely point to when I say like all of these systems are intertwined and why we actually need bigger systemic changes to the game balance to make this stuff work. So if you look at the current state of pixels right now, there's a few issues. One, like the task board and the tasks as is are not balanced properly. And what's happening is like some of the tier one and the tier two tasks are actually earning more coins than tier three and tier four, which is a little messed up. So that alone requires like big changes to things like some of the energy usage in some of these industries, some of the tasks being offered, some of the cost of different components, some of the recipes. Like there's big changes that we're making there, and the team's been working on this and kind of revamping this, but we need to kind of introduce that. The other issue is there's coin inflation too. So what's good about chapter two, and one of the things that's gone well, is that bots are not really earning pixel anymore, but what they are earning is coins, and that's leading to some coin inflation. So there's a couple things that we're doing there. There's one, some more of the prevention side of things. So we're going to start to introduce more anti-bot features. We're pulling it into this sprint, it looks like now, and there's going to be a few reworks there. Hopefully it won't be high touch to you guys. And the ideal situation is none of our normal players notice it, but there's a little bit more work doing there. I think we're finally going to add in the captcha system in certain key areas, which we think is going to help, but it's not going to be a typical captcha. It's going to be a different type of captcha than what people normally see. If you're a normal player, you should never see it. If you connect on sus networks and use sus VPNs, you might start seeing a captcha. So that's part of it. Then there's other game mechanics that we're going to need to start to introduce that address the coin inflation aspect as well too. If we introduce coin to or pixel to coin right now, it's going to make the coin inflation worse, and it's going to break economy worse too. So there's like a few things that we're addressing there. It's taskboard, it's energy projection, and there's also different MMO like mechanics that we're going to start to introduce too. Our team is digging into this now, and we're about to start to get work on some of these. Like if I'm being honest with where we're at right now, it's going to be, we have some changes that are scheduled for this sprint. We can hopefully get some stuff out next week with this, the first initial changes. And then there's going to be larger systemic changes that come out over the next 2 to 4 weeks. And this is things like, if you've ever played a game like Destiny, these are features that like some people don't understand initially, and like some people don't like them, but things like coin caps or other things could be mechanics that we introduce that help with some of these issues. But essentially, this is the part of the team that we just upgraded pretty heavily, and this is the next part that we're addressing. So as soon as we have some of this under control, it's going to all come together. We're going to start to introduce some of these mechanics also, and hopefully we'll start to see game economy changes that feel better to the users. And this is this is one of the key areas. I would say we talk about prioritization. Actually, game economy balancing is number one priority inside the Pixels right now. Like live ops strategy is like, if we put it into like what matters, like 2 or 3. Next important thing is the segmentation side of things we talked about too. So that's starting to move finally, where we're going to start to basically distribute tokens in ways that feel better to more users. So right now, how token distribution works inside of the game is we have created systems where higher level players earn a lot of pixel right now, which is generally like a good thing. But now we also need to kind of go back into the reverse and make sure that we're targeting other types of players too. So right now inside of the game, a casual player doesn't stand much of a chance. And that isn't a very good thing, right? Like we actually want the casual user base inside of this gaming ecosystem also. We want to make sure that they're incentivized, they receive the offers that they need to. And this is where having some of the free to play experience in the team is actually extremely valuable. So some of the stuff that we're doing is really unique to Web3. Some of it is actually not. Some of this stuff has actually been pretty locked in when it comes to methods inside of Web2 gaming. Like, for example, the concept of an offer, essentially like giving users rewards and more casual users rewards to kind of make sure that they stay inside of the ecosystem and stay retained. So if you look at all of our metrics and our data right now, there's some things about chapter 2 that have gone a lot better. And there's other things that have kind of gone in the reverse too. So one of our things is like casual user retention is actually down, which is not good. And that's one of the things that we're going to start to address with different targeted earnings and different reward systems. So what has to happen first is basically these big economy changes. It's going to change the meta a lot. So do expect that meta changes. Then we can start to go back and focus on content. So one of the things that we need to fix after these big economy balance changes is introducing some of the content that was associated around things like the NFT lands and start to introduce new content there. And then after we get that, like after we kind of focus on all of that, as this live ops strategy is running parallel, we're going to start to introduce new game mechanics again. So one thing that somebody who's new on our team has a lot of experience on, has like kind of already built out systems for, and he kind of wants to bring on is more of the contestable land ideas or more end game content too. That's kind of the stuff that we'll do in the next step after that. So I think if we're being honest about where we're at, we probably have like 1 month of like still fixing like game economy, another month of adding in new content, and then finally we can start to add in new game mechanics after that. In the meantime, also what we're going to start to do is you're going to start to see other stuff in the ecosystem release. So we have a casual game that we'll be releasing soon. We'll talk more about that in the next day in May, but we expect it to release end of August, which is very exciting. And then we're also making some moves when it comes to bringing more people into our ecosystem. I don't want to talk about it too much because we have some handshake stuff done with like a couple teams, but we'll likely start to work with other teams to bring them into our ecosystem and also have them use the pixel token for monetization. So there's some strategy there and some stuff that we're going into there. So yeah, I think we addressed this question about the coin update. So it's coming, but it's going to take like maybe next week, but it's probably gonna be 2 weeks to get some stuff there and make it move forward. I'm trying to check in with the team, and maybe I can even go in and like do some long form writing this week to kind of update you guys on where we're at. One thing I want to start to do is I want to start to write like long form around the state of Web3 gaming. There's some interesting stuff popping up that we're starting to see, and it's really refreshing to see other teams finally starting to be in the arena. Like one example is I've been following Pirate Nation a lot, and if you look at what their recent announcement was, they just said they're going to start cracking down on multi-accounting. And that's not very surprising, right? That's one of the biggest issues inside of Web3 gaming. And now we have some teams that are actually going to start to come into the arena and start to solve some of these Web3 issues as well next to us, which is great. If you've been a part of Pixels, it's not such an easy thing to do. And this is actually maybe where we can start to share some tech and some strategies with other teams also. So yeah, here's another comment. When will the chicken worm and the rest of animal care be reworked? So yeah, core game balance needs to be fixed first. Again, like I'm trying to be a bit more conservative with our estimates now. I would guess 2 to 4 weeks. Like game balance is the number one priority at Pixels right now. And then we can start to work on other content after that. Blah, blah, blah. Still no new sync or burning mech. Okay, this live ops mechanic is actually a new sync and burning mechanism. And if
And
we,
earning.
yeah, and earning mechanism too. So if we start to do this interestingly enough, like, yeah, the goal is net ecosystem spend with this. So we'll see and like attribute this kind of stuff. But this is actually one of the first parts of our monetization strategy that we're finally implementing. DAU is actually not an important metric for us. Revenue is the most important metric for the ecosystem. And that's what we're looking at when it comes to like ecosystem success. Please fix Taskboard for casual players. Like back then, players can play the game not so intense and still get a reasonable reward. Yeah, we hear you. This is partly the stuff that we're working on with game balance. This is partly the stuff that we're working on with segmentation. So one thing that we really appreciate from our user base is the patience that they have with us as we're building and fixing some of these things, right? So with chapter 2, we got some things right. With chapter 2, we got some things wrong. What I will say is I know people have very fond memories of chapter 1, but a lot of these issues were also present inside of chapter 1, but they weren't so visible. And part of what we wanted to do with chapter 2 was we wanted to basically take a risk and actually get to the problem solving inside of Web3 gaming. And now we're kind of confronted with it, right? Like the chapter 2 economy, the base of it, it's not working right now, but it's a more real economy than chapter 1 was. And now we actually have to deal with balancing a much more real economy. And that's what we're kind of going through right now. With all the other stuff that's thrown at with you inside of Web3, right? So it exposed some of our flaws, but now we can actually fix some of these flaws and build something that's much more sustainable and in the long run. That was kind of the point of chapter 2. So chapter 2, right now, we have done well at rewarding grinders. Now we have to kind of go back and start rewarding more casual players too. That's what we're working on. I think we'll probably get something realistically here that feels better week by week when it comes to game balance. And then the next thing that we're doing is this user segmentation. And that hopefully will start to roll out our first implementation of that. We have it in this sprint. It might roll over to the next sprint. So that would be 1 to 3 weeks essentially.
Someone on Discord said, I don't want peace. I want to sabotage everybody. I don't think I will grow any crops, but I will be sabotaging all the time.
Pixels got so boring, play the task. Yeah, so that's part of the game balance issues. We don't like how the current task board meta's wrapped up either. So there also might be some other changes that we make to task board too. Like for example, we might start including things inside of the task board where you actually have to go and turn in resources that you farm. Um, like we might make some non-tradable items start to pop up in the task board again. There's some other small tweaks like that that we can do. Hey Luke, the cave reward pool is taken from the pool task board, or you add a new reward pool for this cave war. Yeah, so transparently, one, we've been under allocating some rewards. So if you look at our tokenomics, you'll see that we have officially 28 million pixel reserved every single month for play to earn or ecosystem rewards. We haven't been allocating all of that every single month. So we have some that we've saved up here, but also like you can consider that like a soft or hard cap. I would consider that hard cap on like the monthly budget that we have for ecosystem rewards. So in the long run, also note that spend goes back into here. We will start to shift some of the rewards just from Taskboard to these other areas also, right? So the goal isn't to decrease your earnings. The goal is to make it so that you have different ways to earn, right? So it's not just Taskboard, but it's maybe the reward dashboard, it's these events, it's other systems too. Having all the rewards in the Taskboard is not the long-term solution that we want. We want like a few different ways to do it essentially.
Okay, so the first map I ever built was a Halloween themed map, and I think we should bring it back because we didn't get to use it last year because we were super, super busy with things. Let's bring it back this year. All right, designers, if you're listening, let's do something. Oh, shoot. I just,
Uh, Yeah, I was gonna bring up this one. Wouldn't it be a better idea to work on the better task board coins and pixel rewards first rather than events? Come on, bro. Luke. And VIP is useless now. So a couple things. So one, this is getting worked on in parallel, right? Like we're not
yeah.
just focusing on one thing at a time. So this is one thing that we can start to run. And now that we have this system going, we can actually have us be like a bit more autonomous. So this actually is like a whole different part of the team that'll be working in the live up events than these other areas, right? So we just brought on new people and new talent on systems and game design side. We were gonna like do a whole announcement around it, but I actually think it's maybe better than not. But like the person that we just brought on to lead new game design, I'm super excited about them. And yeah, they bring a ton of experience from free to play, from mobile, and from Web3 gaming too. So they've worked on other Web3 games, and it was a pretty good poach on our end. We're pretty excited about it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and something you mentioned, I really just want to reiterate because I found myself responding to every Discord message about this when people were saying like, "Why did you release this quality of life update yesterday when you could be doing task board stuff?" Couple things there. These are small quality of life updates that were done by a completely different team member than the ones that are working on the things that Luke just mentioned, right? So keep that in mind. We're not a team of two. There's a lot more people behind us working on things. And the update yesterday was actually in preparation for Guild Wars, but there were a couple of fun things that got added in there as well. So I posted about it. I hope this event will be enjoyable, not like the Shoreline event where it'll be boring. I'm going to say it's not going to be boring. There will be a lot of bots. You can't see the soil plot. So this is something that we've thought about as well. Now, gating it behind guilds means that there's going to be a lot fewer people playing, simply put. Also, we are ready and prepared to add more arenas if need be. I think we've calculated that we're going to start with 11. But if over time we see the need, okay, we need more arenas available because we need more soils, we will add them.
How big is your team now? Expanding all the time. Bravo. The team's around like 20 full time. So again, bigger team doesn't mean more gets done. And actually, our approach to hiring has been a little bit different. Where what we care about is actually hiring higher level of talent than more people, and that's kind of been the approach for like the last 5 or 6 hires. There's like a couple more people that we're hiring, and we'll post another job posting. So we filled the roles on our Pixels Twitter, which is great. We got really, really great talent. It's been refreshing interviewing now because what's good about the position that we're in is like people actually want to work here, and we're actually able to get the best talent that in the space, to be honest. And the bar for who's coming onto the team keeps getting higher with every single hire. So next hire that we're making now is a data scientist. We want somebody to lead data at Pixels. We'll post a job posting on our Twitter soon about that. But yeah, we like to hire from the community too. So if any of you are a data scientist, we might have a role opening up here. Well, we do have a role opening up. We want somebody to lead data. What we're looking for with this role is we want somebody who's done either game economy data science before at a company like Apps Flyer or a company that's done free to player mobile gaming. So either on the ad side or on like the live economy side, because what we're doing kind of looks like both.
Okay, so during the Guild War, can we enter different arenas to plant soil? Absolutely, you can go in all of them. And then I think they have worlds too. So there should be, wait, now I need to know that. I think they are worldless, right?
Yeah, I think they are worldless.
Yeah. So there should be 11 arenas per world. I think I just asked our designer though, so we'll see. We'll just double check on that.
2 questions here. What about marketplace balance? What about fixing the balances will also fix the task boards? Yeah, so balance, it's a couple of different things. It's resource production. So that means things like the energy cost associated with like actually building something, the cooldown times, the rewards given in the task board for a resource, what the actual recipes are, how much energy it costs to like cut down a tree, how much energy it costs to plant, the different like amounts of resources used to like level up the tiering, how much XP something's giving out. We're basically going to completely revamp everything here, and it's a total rehaul of a lot of the balance. What we will not do though, just to like assure you guys, is we will not change your levels. We will not change like any progress that you have done here. It's just going to be changes to the future. So then there's some other things that we can do as well once we have those changes in, where if there's examples of like an oversupply of a resource, what we can start to do is manual and then maybe eventually algorithmic adjustments of the task board. So for example, with tier 3 and tier 4 resources, right? In the game right now, they're pretty worthless, where the market has like some of the resources at like 1 pixel or 1 coin each, right? In the short term, after we get these balance changes so that the like actual production side of things is fixed, then we can do buybacks of tokens more. So basically give out, or not tokens more, of some of these resources more. So like we can temporarily adjust the weights of certain types of resources so that they're in the task board more. We can slowly deplete the stocks of all these items. One of the most inflated items right now is honey, for example. And there probably will be some tweaks there that we do. And what's the other one too? I think the slugs are pretty inflated too.
Yeah.
What I can say is like we finally have a better sense of all of the data, and we have people actually looking at this that are not just me now, which is great. We have actually like people who have done this and done the game economy balancing in other games before, taking a look at this and taking ownership over this.
Okay, so Luke and I were incorrect. The arenas are single maps, single world maps, which means that there are. I don't know how someone's calling me on Discord right now. Oh shoot, I have a call. So confused. Which means that there. Oh my god, she's calling me again. Give me 2 seconds. Okay. Sorry, I have a call started 1 minute ago, so we'll have to wrap up really quickly here. But it means that there are only right now, as it stands, there are only 11 arenas total. So if I'm in World 1 and Luke is in World 50, we both go to Arena 1. We're both in the same map. So we'll see how that plays out. If we need to make more arenas, we will. But I think it's better to keep it kind of tight for now. And with that, I gotta go. So we'll wrap this up here.
Let me see if there's like a few more. You can go. I'm gonna see if there's like a few more questions.
I'm gonna hop off. Hopefully it doesn't shut down the whole stream, and I will talk to you guys. I'll see you guys later.
All right, bye guys.
Bye.
Yeah, let's spend like a couple more minutes going through some stuff if there is anything good. If there's bad questions, I'm gonna end this AMA, but I think there's some good stuff to still go into. All right, ask your final questions. I'm going through some stuff now. How about us, Luke? The guys that don't want to join guilds, will we benefit/win some prizes in the upcoming events? So what I will say is there is some individual tasks that you can do inside of this contest. But if this contest is not for you, if you don't like competition, if you don't like join a guild, then we're going to do different events for you in the future. When I say future, the ideal situation with this live ops strategy is we want to be running something almost every week and different types of events almost every week. And maybe even the ideal situation, we have like multiple events going on at once, so you get to choose, right? So this is the first time that we're doing this. And what was really cool about this is we actually do have really good tech behind Pixels. The team was able to build this out relatively quickly. If this is something that makes a lot of sense to invest more of our time and energy into, we could probably start to hire more here that specifically do the live ops events. We're kind of restructuring our whole live ops strategy, and like, you know, we have somebody that's going there full time basically to go out, do events like this. I'm relatively optimistic of how it's going to go, but obviously we'll have to like look and see how things happen. But yeah. And then yeah, we have one more question here. We'll see if we can pull out one more besides this one too. Oh yeah, this is another point too. Okay, cool. 2 more questions. So don't nerf the taskboard for grinders, man. That's sad. No, so we're not going to nerf it for you guys, but there's going to be a different distribution too, right? So one of the things that we're working on Pixels is we're asking the question, who are the right people to give out rewards to, and how do we lead to the most ecosystem growth? So one thing for you grinders is you have to think about is, you know, you're not the only type of player inside of the game. And, you know, it's actually going to benefit you on the grind if there's other more casual players inside of the game too. So we are going to start to shift some of the rewards back into like some of the more casual players. Now we're going to do this in a couple different ways, right? We're doing some user segmentation. We talked about that really in depth 2 weeks ago in that AMA. If you haven't seen that AMA, I would really recommend you to, because it goes into some like pretty cool technical details of how we're going to do that. Essentially, what we're doing is we're doing like a bunch of different data science things. We're doing like k-means clustering. We're doing like different types of user segmentation. We're bringing in some concepts from Web 2 when it comes to like monetization prediction or other things. And we're also bringing in our own concepts too of what makes a good Web3 user, or what makes somebody that like a good user for Pixel. So one easy thing is like people who participate in events tend to be, you know, more casual, but like more fun users that lead to better ecosystem success. We're going to start to give out more rewards for those users. We're going to give out more rewards for users who play the games in different ways than just grinding, right? So it's actually really important that we reward different types of people in different ways. And then one last point here too. Luke, why did you change the landowner task for people who rent? Becomes horrible. I rented some weeks ago and it's not worth it. One change that we just added was you have to hold land for at least 24 hours in order to actually start receiving landowner tasks. So if you are renting, you can still get access to them, but you have to do it for more than a day now. So that is a big change. But that should also stop basically people renting very quickly or transferring lands from draining the landowner pool. And yeah, with that, I think we've answered most of the questions today. I hope people feel good about this direction, because yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on here, and we are listening to you guys. I really promise. Even so, again, key point here is we don't view feedback negatively, especially when people make content. Like we brought up Danny's content earlier. And it's funny because if you watch this YouTube video, it's not so nice, but also it brings in a lot of good points. And I promise you, this is the kind of stuff the team is looking at like quite often, right? It's a harsh video, but also they're not wrong in a lot of ways too. Like there are some things that aren't working inside of the game now, and this is why we have these AMAs to like get the feedback from you guys and to make things better. So I can tell you, we're listening. We're making a lot of improvements. I feel like we have the right people to do this now, and yeah, we have a different team here doing this. Oh, I know you guys hate cooking tasks too. Yeah, we'll talk about that. All right, great. Thanks everybody, and we will be here next week.